No, I do like that knife though, and I think one of our listeners he had one many many years ago, and I saw it. Where are they made at? Show that knife again for those people that aren't watching on YouTube.
This one,
Yeah, where's it made?
France.
Because we have a dealer out here in one of the hippie towns that sells them, and one of our listeners showed me his like a couple years ago.
It's only been dropped once. Never stabbed, only been dropped once.
It should have a little white flag engraved on it. The French, whatever.
God bless it, dude. I hate to hear like Macron and any of those, like actually anybody from Europe, like whatever, man.
The Euro pours.
But hey, they're going to have a summit, sometime next month to, determine what actions they're going to take against the U.S. for Iran.
Cool story. I'm gonna be like, yeah, so that's cool. We're just gonna turn off your funding.
That's how they reply. Is like, we're gonna have a summit. We're gonna discuss this. Like, yeah, and this is why we've had to jump into the world wars. Like, you go have your summit.
Are they gonna send us a strongly worded letter?
They'll probably do it on X.
They're gonna build another Maginot Line.
I wonder what's going on in Hungary, because if somebody would have asked me 3 weeks ago, what's going on in Hungary, I'd be like, oh, they love Orban over there. They're the only ones pushing back against the EU. And that dude lost. He lost his election. I don't know anything about the other guy. I just haven't been tracking, man. Just have not been tracking. But for a while there, Hungary was, it's like, well, that's the one little piece of sanity in all of Europe, pretty much.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything about the other person, but what I do know is that Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama tweeted in support of the other person, and that told me all I need to know about that other person. I was like, well, that sucks for Hungary. If they're happy, chances are I'm probably not going to like whoever that person is. So, but you want to talk about a crash out? Let's talk about a crash out a little closer to home. Virginia. Did you see the law the Virginia governor just signed in?
Yeah, is that real? I was looking as I'm like, that's got to be like some Twitter AI fake news or something. Is that real? Did you look that up?
Yeah, yes, that's 100% real.
I
don't think it stands up in court. But it just depends on how, I mean, you got to go back and see. I didn't dig into their other election law. So essentially what the law says is if a number of other states vote one way, let's say, California and New York, their popular vote goes to, pick your Democratic presidential candidate, then Virginia's electors throw all their electoral votes into the Democratic pile, even if the state voted majority Republican. I don't know. Like,
are you guys present for our podcast when we record? I mean, do you actually pay attention to?
This was passed today, right? And we haven't recorded for like 2 weeks. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Okay, so it's part of the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact that we talked about, like episode 10.
That was a long time ago, bro.
Dude. There's 18 states, including DC, have already signed up on this. They only need like 40 some odd more electoral votes. So yeah, it's exactly what Josh just said. They've all so far 22 or 18, I guess 19 now, or whatever, and DC have signed. So wherever the national popular vote goes, that's where the electoral vote goes. So essentially California, New York, there you go. You're just about done, right? But I think with the one big difference is with the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact, there was just more of an agreement, a bunch of people signing on, making it, we would do that, versus, what Josh is talking about today. She actually signed it into law, right?
Yeah, it's actual legislation.
So, I mean, there's no way that thing passes, but that's how they think, man. That just shows you how they think. I mean, it's like, whatever.
Roger throwing up. When we start, let's see. So we started C3 in April of 2020.
Dude, I'm gonna find my notes. We did like a whole segment on this.
Dude,
was it 2020?
Is this when it was during COVID?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but COVID lasted like 4.5 years. So
No, but we started early in COVID. It was spring of 2020. Because we'll just go back and look and see when the I forget what the name of the ship in the Pacific that my man sent the strongly worded letter to the San Francisco Chronicle or whatever the newspaper is for San Francisco. It was right around that time. Yeah. Roger's like, you don't remember this? We talked about this 6 years ago. It's like, dude, no, so Roger, I don't remember that.
You're right. It was in April. It was April 4th. It's crazy. That was the one we released it.
Yeah. So just a couple days before we had a really good editing team. You guys ever go back and listen to this?
We have a really good editing team now, or what?
Yeah. You guys ever go back and listen to our first? No,
I can't. This sounds too horrible.
It's
no, actually, I mean, I think our stuff, Josh and me, I think our equipment sounds better. Luke sounds just as shitty as it did day one because he's using the same equipment.
Go back and listen to episode 1 and see if you can get through 5 minutes of it. Y'all's is bad too. It was all.
That's what I just said though. We improved because our equipment improved. You're using the exact same broke shit that you used day 1 6 years ago.
Y'all still making the same broke shit points you've been making for the past 5 years. At least I've expanded my mind.
Luke is still recording with his COVID headset and COVID microphone.
These are Bose.
Back when you couldn't get electronic pieces and shit. He's like taking chips out of his damn, Atari and like trying to get a fucking headset.
Yeah, it's a good microphone.
Yeah, but the sound isn't like y'all's. Y'all's is better.
I mean, that's the exact same microphone I started with.
But the Virginia thing, dude, that's an insurance policy is what that is, because they voted consistently blue, right, in the past few elections. And I guess this last one was a little closer, but it's just an insurance policy just in case, I guess. But why on earth the voters would think that's a good idea on either side?
I mean, they would have lost this last time, right? Yes. I mean, here's the thing is like, again, it's like with the going nuclear in the Senate. They don't think, past like one term, because so much can be done during that term legislatively. I mean, that's all it takes is a little tide, right? Legislatively, there's a lot of things done, a lot of things that can be done federally. And you might be, your party could be out of office for, a decade. I mean, just look at recent history, with Trump. I mean, heck, there was a time period there. You had the 2 Obama years, the Trump years, and then the Biden years. So you had, 12 of the 16 years were Democrats.
It's such a dumb law. Like, even if it did pass through the courts, is that, I love the cup. Jose Mafungo. So
whatever.
Even if it does, even if it did make it through the courts, like, why would you do that? Why would you give up your electoral? That could mean the literal difference between the candidate that your state voted for winning or losing. I still don't understand it. And that's me saying that about a blue state. I don't get it.
I get it. I do. I get it. Because they're communist. In their heart of hearts, they are absolute communists. And it's important to point out that, you take what is Abigail Spanberger's background? Where did she come from?
The CIA.
Yeah. And so again, and people think that, this goes back to a lot of things we've discussed since, April 4th of 2020. A lot of our national agencies are infested with this mentality, with these people. These people are the ones that control the United States government. People are like, oh, there's no deep state. There's no that. Yes, there is. There 100% is. And it's people like Abigail Spanberger who are driving that train. 100%.
That's what you get for recruiting from universities, the Ivy League and even red state universities like Texas A&M. I mean, I know the agency recruits not heavily, but they recruit out of A&M quite a bit. And man, A&M is a liberal school. It just is. UT is a liberal school. So yeah, I mean, you reap what you sow. You remember all that nonsense during the Biden administration, all the commercials? Remember the CIA commercials
Oh
during the
yeah,
Biden
they were
administration?
bad.
I think we might have recorded about that too, actually. I think we did a segment on
Yeah.
the horribles.
It's bad, but those are the people who, those are the people inside the government apparatus at all levels. You see Tulsi Gabbard came out and, they finally did a bunch of the document dump from Crossfire Hurricane
Oh yeah.
and everything. It's like, Adam Schiff clearly lying when he said he didn't know who Eric Morella, whatever, the
See, there
whistleblower.
we go. Now they're going to pull our damn episode.
Oh, they're going to
down.
pull it from YouTube. He was like, I don't know the identity of the whistleblower. It's like, dude, you met with him a week or two before he came out and he became the whistleblower. Yeah, you do. Right? Now, nothing's going to happen. None of these people are ever going to be held accountable. Nobody's going to go to jail, even though they orchestrated this entire thing to rip country apart for years. But those are the people. Abigail Spanberger, she would absolutely bet on that. 100%. And she would have been fully behind it. They truly are the fifth column. The left is the fifth column, and they're good at it. They're really good at it.
Yeah, it's looking more and more like color revolution type stuff.
100%.
Really dig in. I got a wild hair the other night, and I was like, what's her? I forgot her name. The Ukraine diplomat, the U.S. diplomat to Ukraine. I completely forgot her name. Posted about the other night, Victoria Nuland, where she is directly responsible. She, not just alone, but she headed up an effort to take Ukraine down a path that it's on right now that has killed millions of Ukrainians and Russians. Millions. It's not millions, over 1 million at this point. It's just, God bless.
And she will never, ever be held accountable.
Nope.
Yeah, none of them will. None of them will.
No, none of them will. And that's the B of it all, is there's no accountability. Now let me tell you something. If you miss your taxes, by the way, it's tax day tomorrow, people. It's Mo's favorite day.
Not for me. I filed an extension.
We went ahead and paid. That was not a good time. So I don't forget what I was saying. But nobody will be held accountable. If you mess up on your taxes by $500, they'll put you in jail. Start a color revolution in somebody else's country, kill millions of people. Politics. And that's the way it is.
But the good news is I learned this today, because not too long ago I had somebody here where I am, older female, very set in her ways, we'll put it that way, super nice. But she informed me that all Muslims are terrorists, every single one of them. And I was like, well, maybe some of them aren't. She's like, nope, they all are. I was like, wow, surrounded by terrorists. And but today Tucker Carlson came out, and it's really set my mind at ease. He said that Muslims love Jesus. He said that on X. Muslims love Jesus. So I guess by virtue, they love Christians too. I think that's what he was trying to get across. Is that true, Josh? I mean, Jesus was a prophet in Quran, but is it true that that Muslims, I mean, by virtue of loving Jesus, you think they love Christians, right?
You would think so. As far as do Muslims love Jesus, I'm not a I'm not a theologian or anything like that, but it's been my experience, anecdotal, of course, that Muslims aren't really big fans of Jesus and Christianity. Just again, anecdotal, but that's been my experience. I didn't see any churches. I didn't see the first church in Afghanistan. Maybe I missed it. But I don't think they are.
Well, it is anecdotal, that's for sure. But more Muslims have shot at me than Christians.
That's a fact. Same. It's crazy, and I don't understand. I truly don't understand there's something, and I'm sure it has to do with money, but like, Tucker and Joe Kent and all of them, it is, so somebody posted on X, and it's spot on, right? When people think about, and Luke, you talked about this either in the last episode or 2 episodes ago, right? Is that Islam is a political ideology. There is you cannot separate. You can separate Christianity and politics, right? You cannot separate, and it's by design. You cannot separate Islam and politics. So, at the end of the day, if Islam runs the world, the answer is eventually that Christianity has to be stamped out. You either convert or you are subjugated, stamped out, with whichever, like that. And that's the thing. People don't understand that when Muslims immigrate to the United States, that is running in the background. All right. That's all the apps on your phone that are open, but you're not, actively using on your screen at that time. All that stuff's still running in the background. And, the thing that Muslims are and Americans are not is patience. They are very patient. Hey, we don't need to do it in the next 5 years. We don't need to do it in the next 10 years. We'll do it in the next 50. And that's fine. Right. So, yeah. But I'm glad Tucker said that. Maybe I need to go and reevaluate all my biases and everything that I know about, Islam, based on Tucker's revelation here.
Just crazy.
Well, I think there is a difference too, though, when you look at Muslims here in the U.S. versus Muslims around the world. Huge difference. I mean, not just the religious wise, but just culture wise, and my encounter with them overseas has been very different than most of the ones I've encountered here.
Well, to be fair, a lot of the ones that were overseas got imported here in the last,
well, I haven't been to Dearborn lately, but yeah.
You don't have to go, dude. You don't have to go to Dearborn. You don't have to go to Dearborn anymore. Just go to any city, like damn near any city, and you're going to see it. So I was just I was in Atlanta last week for a couple of days, and right. So Atlanta is one of my least favorite cities. It could be such a great city, but it's one of my least favorite cities, right? So the 404, DeKalb in Fulton County, like it is straight, man. It is. Woo. Okay, so I'm walking into Lowe's Hardware at roughly 8:30 in the morning. Okay, during the week, Lowe's Hardware, 8:30 in the morning. Out walks 5 women, every single one of them in hijabs, and it was just like, wait, hold on. Where am I at now? Granted, I'm in the the Gucci part of Atlanta, North Central Atlanta, which is where all the yuppies, and folks. And my sister's going to yell at me because that's where she lives. She's going to yell at me for saying that she lives in the yuppie area, but it is the nice area. But still, it's like Lowe's Hardware, 8:30 in the morning. Not what I expected to walk out the door. Just saying. Again, anecdotal. But dude, you don't have to go to Dearborn anymore.
So you brought up. Oh, good.
No, go ahead, Roger.
No, I was going to change the subject because you hopped on
That's
something.
fine.
Talking about
That's fine.
Tucker Carlson, Sean Ryan, Megyn Kelly. Like there's a disinformation push, right? I mean, there's no way that all of these people are just like individually. Like this is coordinated. So my question is, who's coordinating all this? Like all these big names didn't all of a sudden just be because it was like overnight. Hey,
yeah,
we're just anti-Trump.
Do you follow Data Republican on X?
Not as much as you do. I see some of his posts, but not as.
It's actually a female, and she's deaf.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But she's starting to kind of go after. Oh.
That was terrible. That was terrible, my bad.
Dude, did you really just say that she doesn't listen to our show? That's pretty effed up.
Oh.
Did you see real quick before Luke gets started? Did you see the Madison Cawthorn thing? And I know we're going to talk about this while everything.
Yes.
Oh,
wait.
Madison.
No. Wait. No.
Madison Cawthorn.
Who is that?
Remember Madison Cawthorn? He was the dude in the wheelchair, and then he didn't win his election after the whole the weird sex party pictures showed up at him at the sex party. And he was like, and he goes, and he texted, he was like, there's more. He's not the only one. And somebody was like, somebody goes, Madison Cawthorn is not going to stand for this. And I commented, I was like, to be fair, he's not standing for anything. It was bad. It was bad. I'm sorry.
I wasn't going to make much of a point with Data Republican, but she's been taking you set that person on a task, and they're going to come with receipts. And she went down some road about the Charlie Kirk assassination with some Mormon Women for Change or something like that. She sat in on one of their teleconferences, and you can hear it straight from their mouths. I mean, they want to undermine the Charlie Kirk part of the Republicans, whatever. I agree. I do think it has to be coordinated somehow. Just by whom, I don't know. And it's a decent campaign, I guess, but it's just ruining these people's names. I mean, how on earth? I could see Tucker Carlson coming back from something like this over time, right? Geez, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, all that. How are they going to come back from this? I mean, how crazy?
Well, Candace has been crazy for a while. We've been saying that for years.
She wasn't at first. You remember that?
Yeah, I know. But she was just like Carrie Lake, dude. Yeah, they weren't for like 4 months, and then they make all that money and they go batshit crazy for whatever it is. But when you look at, and even with like Joe Rogan, like I could see Joe Rogan coming to this as well. Because we kind of know where he comes from. I mean, that dude is not a conservative, right? I mean, we know that.
No.
And so, and even when you look at Tucker Carlson, he's a little bit more of a libertarian when it comes to foreign policy. So you could see him with that. But it's not even like, hey, I disagree with Trump on Iran. It's just like, hey, now all of a sudden everything he does is wrong. And how I think Megyn Kelly was a hater there for a little while, a couple of years ago. So maybe it's just one of those deep down, she's always hated him, and now it's just a chance to come out and there's some substance, right? You can't just say Orange Man bad, because there are people like, hey, we shouldn't be doing what we're doing in Iran, whatever. I mean, they're wrong, but there are people that believe that and have their whatever, so they can jump on that bandwagon. But for all of it to be all of a sudden almost overnight is insane.
Yeah. That's not, and Roger, I think you're spot on. That's not a coincidence. That is not a coincidence. Yeah, if it was Rogan who came out one day and was like, hey, man, I'm done,
Right.
I'm done with this. And he'd be like, okay, all right, yeah, I get it. Tim Pool, Alex Jones.
Yeah, man.
Tucker, Megyn Kelly, not that, Theo Vaughn's like he's more of a comedian than anything else, but like, Theo Vaughn, who was big time, he was big time Trump supporter. Schultz, the other comedian, like, dude, a lot of these big names, and it happened for them to all turn at the same time. That's not a coincidence. That is not a coincidence.
You threw Tim Pool in there. What's the charge against him?
He has come out and he is railing against Trump.
I mean, I listened to him. He hasn't lately. Maybe he did, but he hasn't lately. But that's just one podcast I listen to. I think he does a decent news show, and I stopped listening to it for a long time. And Ben Shapiro is just too pro-Israel for me. It's like, bro, back off. Good God, not every single segment has to go back to Israel. It's a bit off-putting. But Tim Pool, I don't know. I'm gonna start listening closer, I guess. One thing with Joe Rogan, dude, I'm just not into him anymore. I used to listen to Joe Rogan because I thought he's funny. I like his takes on things, even though I didn't agree, 40% of the time. But now it's like Sean Ryan, right? I ain't listening to the Sean Ryan show for Sean Ryan. If Pete Blaber comes on there, I'm going to listen to it. It's the same thing with Rogan. I got to look at who's on. I'm not just going to listen to it. I'm kind of black-pilled on him. It's just rubbing me the wrong way for the past few months, man.
I've always been like that with Rogan. It just depended on who he had on, because he's always, because a lot of times especially he'd have comedians and stuff on. It's like, dude, I don't care. Like I genuinely don't care. Like, unless it was somebody like, if he had like Adam Carolla on, I'd listen to it, because I really like Adam Carolla and a lot of his takes and opinions. And then, like some of the authors and, maybe scientists. I listened to, the one he did, and he's done a couple of them with Neil deGrasse Tyson, listen to some of that stuff. But yeah, by and large, I've always been like, well, wait, hold on, who's the guest? Yeah, I'm not listening to that with Rogan. I've never been in all or nothing with him.
Well, it was always his guest, right? Because he was one of the early adopters of long form. So you could sit there and he asked good questions. And, so I like the show based on the guest, just like you guys said. But I think him personally, it's like, I always, he is the educated pothead that has several $1 million. That's what he is. That can fight.
I do think the money's changed him. I really do think the money's changed him. I think it's him and some of these other comedians that go on there, and I'm not going to be able to remember any of their names. But man, they get on there and they talk about how cush life is and what they're going to do with their money and all this stuff. And hey, good on them for making all that money. But I think it's changed him a little bit. Remember, that guy that comes on? He's on ESPN. He's on all the morning shows. He's the guy who predicts things, or not predicts it, but like you're thinking of a number, or I can guess your PIN code, or write down, that. Well, he was on Rogan, and Rogan treated him like an absolute dick. Like Rogan was a dick to him, trying to figure out his magic trick. And it's like, and he was kind of a jerk. And I'm like, he didn't used to be that way. Like back before he was on Spotify, it was whatever. I don't know. But, that's a sad commentary to me when I, get a little deep when I'm driving or whatever, that, your court jester, right? They're the only ones that could, tell the truth as long as it was funny. They're the only ones that could make fun of the king as long as it was funny. But now the court jesters, which are comedians, I mean, they're the rich folks now, man. They're the real movie stars. What does that say about the society where the comedians are the ones who, wield, I wouldn't say power, but, a lot of influence.
They will influence. Yeah, really the only, there's very few comedians that I watch consistently. And the only one that I do is Dave Chappelle.
Even he, in his last special, I think we talked about it. We might've talked about it on the podcast. I thought his last special was just kind of, like the first 2/3 of it was good. The last third was like, what are you doing? He got very political, and it was all the Israel stuff, and the last thing he said was, whatever, it doesn't matter. But yeah, I'm with you though. If Chappelle comes out with a special, I'm watching it, period.
Yeah, 100%.
So, and we talked about the Israel piece before, like, and still it's mind boggling trying to wrap your head around like all the hate for Israel. Like where does that come from?
George Soros.
I mean, it's just like, man.
It's all that's funded, man. I'm telling you, it's a fifth. The fifth column.
I get. Yeah.
There is, and and Joe Kent, and we talked about him last episode. He took the money. He took the money. The same money that Candace Owens had, and everything. Because, I mean, within that same week that he very publicly resigned, he went on this he went to an event with Candace Owens and Tucker and all the other people. And it's like that dude got an EFT in his account. That's all that's all that was.
Makes you wonder, is it something as simple as that? Because I mean, like we talked about the full cycle with like Tucker Carlson, right? He worked for Fox News, got fired, bought out before Fox was going to get sued, whatever in the hell. Starts his own little show, gets, that's produced by, I forget the name, it was like Red Door or something like that. And then recently that company got bought out by Fox News. so he's essentially working for Fox again. And it just makes you wonder, like stuff like that. If it's just like, you know what, I'm just going to take the $50 million from whoever it is on the left and just stick it to the man.
Yeah.
And I haven't dove deep enough into like I don't know Megyn Kelly. I don't know who produces her show, what company owns it. I don't know all that. Maybe we should look at it, but just be curious if there's a tie there.
Well, keep in mind, Tucker is good friends with Hunter Biden.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He is friends with Gavin Newsom. Right. So yeah. I'm telling you right now, if you could get into their bank accounts and just follow the money, it would answer all the questions.
Yeah, Josh was right, 100% with technical difficulties and everything. That if you follow the money, yeah, it's going to lead back somewhere. This is not organic. In other words, like 100%. My question to you guys is this: let's say, and it's hypothetical, it'll never happen, but let's say all of a sudden Josh makes a really witty post on C3, and it now all of a sudden we have 735,000 followers on X. And, people start actually listening to the podcast, and we're approached by YouTube. Oh, you got to, monetize this. And let's say that some political action committee, not even from the left wing, but some kind of, GOP, George W. Bush era, Mike Pence type PAC came to us and said, hey, we would really like for you guys to, say this, and we're going to cut you a check for 50 grand a month, or whatever it is, 60 grand a month to split between the three of y'all, as long as you're pushing this, and it's guaranteed we'll give it to you for a year as long as you're pushing it. What's your line on what you wouldn't say? Because at that point, the way I would view it is, this is satire. This is me like writing satire, and I can go down a rabbit hole, but there are places I would not go. Right. So what are y'all's? What would you do? What would you not do?
So after taxes, that comes out to about $12K a month per person.
Well, then make it $80K a month.
Oh, I'd say whatever the hell they want me to say.
Exactly.
That's my point.
So you guys would go all Andrew Tate with it, and that's what I'm saying.
I would be Hassan Piker Jr., brother.
No, I couldn't do that. Like, I legit couldn't. I legit couldn't do that. Now, if it's something like, if for I'm gonna quote, use Forrest Gump here. It's like, Mama said it was a little white lie. I like to use these specific ping pong paddles. You're gonna give me money because I like to use your product. Okay, cool. Yeah, but if you're gonna come up and be like, I need you to denounce, basically your core values, right? Like,
no, not denouncing core values, but Josh, I could definitely see, and this is, tell me if I'm wrong, but if they came and said, Josh, we really want, I don't know, Rubio or some Chris Christie or some, GOP old school politician, we'd really like you to get away from Trump, start pushing this other guy, and maybe push some of the more negative stuff toward Trump, like the Trump Jesus meme. We really would like you to jump on that and try to get the, evangelicals all whipped up into a frenzy. I mean, could you do that?
I could do that if I thought that whatever Trump was doing that I didn't agree with. Sure. Could I do that anyway?
So the answer is no. Well, I mean, because the line you'd have to walk, in other words, you don't have a price tag. Well, bravo. Well done. Good for you, dude.
I mean, and I know we're going to get into it, but dude, I think I think he's effing it up right now with Iran.
Let's wait on that and talk about another reservation. So hold on. So we've got this Swalwell thing, right? Which we can talk about.
Holy.
But I am, there was another one. Who was the other, controversy before Swalwell? It's like 2 days ago, and now that one's just been buried.
Was it Gonzalez?
Yep.
No.
You talking about Ruben Gallegos?
No, because he's tied
and
up.
You get the chick
Swalwell
in Florida.
I thought there was another one before Swalwell. I thought there was. There wasn't. God, I have to look that up.
There may have been, but not the one I was tracking.
Yeah,
So what do y'all
Swalwell's,
think about
man. Dude, I tell you what, man, it's like I had Fox News on today as I was working, and I think I was texting you guys, man. It was just getting worse and worse and worse as the day went on.
You want to talk about something that was not organic? That was not organic.
Oh no. Oh, dude, we saw that with Kavanaugh. You know what? Here's the thing. We were texting this. It could not have happened to a more deserving person, because when you go back, and Fox News has been doing a good job of it, replaying, the things that he was saying back in 2018 and during the Kavanaugh hearing and this and that. It's like, dude, one, not only was your wife pregnant at the time, that's one problem in itself, but like that lady's press conference today, Lana's, I mean, he's straight roofied her, according to her. I mean, he's straight roofied her. And now they're talking about, at first it was 5, and I don't know how, I don't know the exact number of allegations. I think they're still trying to figure it out, but the law firms, like, we've had 3 more people. Now you're talking about up to 8. And you know how this stuff is, man. It's like Bill Cosby, dude. It starts out at 1, and the next thing you know, it's like 35 or 40. And he's such a sleaze bag, dude. And then now you got, Ruben Gallegos, who's like trying to distance himself as they were best friends. Like, well, I never saw any of this. He lied to us all. Well, you know what? You left your wife at 9 months pregnant. So, you're probably not a very good judge of character either. But dude, it is, I think he may actually be looking at jail time. I mean, like with the rest of them, and dude, you obviously don't condone any of it, but like, especially the ones that happen in like California, like there's no statute of limitations in California for this stuff. And I tell you, it's like you reap what you sow, man. All this stuff they went after Trump, and I'm not saying, because the Trump guy, but all this stuff they went after Trump is like, hey, man, very little evidence here and this and that and yada, yada, yada. All that's going to come back, man. And I tell you what, he's going to be fighting to stay out of prison because he may very well, out of all of them, and I don't know how serious Gonzalez's were. I didn't really hear all of his charges, but he may actually go to prison.
Well,
that could happen.
I was going to make a joke about Fang Fang. Maybe she was just roofied. Maybe the CCP was the one that literally got screwed on that deal. But in all seriousness, with the Fang Fang thing, and for those of you who have been living in a cave way back in the day, Swalwell was totally hooked up with basically an intelligence agent. Having a relationship with a Chinese intelligence agent. And you think about, this is a pattern of behavior. As we all know, we've all sat through the Sharp classes, and this is a pattern of behavior that usually goes back a very long way. And you look at all the compromise that guy's got, man, that's such a vulnerability, and you look at Fang Fang, and all I think of with Swalwell is the time he farted. That's one of the funniest things ever.
He did like twice.
He's so gross, man.
And he kept talking straight through it. And it was very obvious when it happened. Here's the thing.
So 8 years, though, Josh, real quick. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
I had this question because I kind of been following it, but not too close. I watched part of the news conference with her and then got interrupted. 8 years, though. This happened 8 years ago. I saw a snippet that, well, she was in therapy and she was scared and that was her time to come out. But 8 years is a long time. What's up with that?
Well, to add on to that, supposedly, and again, this is just what I'm picking up bits and pieces. She went to therapy like in Connecticut, actually, admitted this stuff to her therapist, has had conversations with her friends and relatives. And I guess, whatever calendar she uses has like that date marked down. And when you go back in, when I was Googling the California statute of limitations, they specifically address that. They're like, hey, take some people a long time to come around. And they actually mention like, hey, part of the evidence that you're going to need is, did you tell friends and family? Did you tell anybody else? Did you go seek treatment? And from what I can tell, just from what they were pulling up on Fox News and everything, is like, it actually looks like she's got about 8 years of consistent treatment and documentation. And I think, I can't remember if it was her or somebody else, there was like an actual doctor's visit that's there. So dude, I'm telling you, he's going to be fighting to stay out of jail.
So I think it's going to come down to how he plays ball. Because here's what's going to happen. He's going to get pulled into a room by some very powerful Democrats. And they're going to tell him, now that he's dropped out of the governor's race, he's resigned from Congress, they're going to tell him, hey, go away quietly. And this, it'll get fed out of the news cycle. And you can go on with your life. Because the dude's not hurting for money. Right? He's not hurting for money. The Democrats got what they wanted. They wanted him to drop out of the governor's race so he wouldn't split the vote in favor of somebody else. He had to, he resigned from Congress, which it's really weird that Tony Gonzalez, who needed to resign from Congress, who already should have been kicked out of Congress, the dude shouldn't have been elected in the first place. He resigned the same day. So they canceled each other out. Right? Which, okay, again, going back to the whole, like, that's weird. That's not a coincidence. So he's going to get pulled in a room, and they're going to tell him, "Hey, man, just go away quietly. Go enjoy your money. Go write your book. Go do whatever." And this just goes away. It gets lost in the news cycle. It eventually dies out, and whatever. Or they're gonna, he's gonna keep making a thing because today he was like, I'm not going down, these allegations or blah 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 blah. And he's got to say, he's got to say something. But they'd be like, okay, well, you can continue to make a spectacle of yourself, and then he kind of hinted at, well, there's others. It's like, okay, that's when he's gonna wind up in court. That's when he's gonna wind up. That's when they're gonna drag him into court in California.
Well, he's already got 2 AGs, New York and California, and you're going to have DC. Dude, I don't think any of this. I think when the first hint of it came out, your first option, your first COA, that's when that comes out, right? Like, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and step out for family reasons, and I need to spend more time with my wife and kid. And you just kind of go away, and nobody does anything. But I tell you what, one, I don't think anybody likes Swalwell anyway. I mean, I can tell you, Gallegos is a douchebag, and if they're best friends, like nobody likes him either. So even with the Democrats, they don't like him. That dude, yeah, it'll be tough.
Gallegos turned on him within like 30
dude,
minutes.
You see his interview?
That coming out? Like, yeah, he turned around and he was basically like, I don't even know that guy.
Yeah,
that interview.
What was his name?
That interview. Are you talking about the one in the hallway?
Yeah,
that one. Yeah, that one needs to be like in the read technique. It's like, these are all the signs.
Dude, that was epic.
Oh, yes. It was great.
Yeah. That was the I've never had sexual relations with that woman. Speech right there. You're like, yeah, I saw that. You just look at him and you're like, oh, dude, man.
You hit on the head, man. That was the Eric. Do I know an Eric? Oh, Eric. No, I don't know.
It was the total true romance. Everyone's got a pantomime. Man's got 18, woman's got 21. But if you show me the pantomime, I know you're lying. You don't want to tell me nothing, but you're showing me everything. It's like man, he was lying. At one point, they asked him a question where the answer should have been no, and he's nodding yes. Says no.
Oh, I don't know that dude, man. Yeah, we never, as you two hung out shirtless on camels, yeah, okay, whatever.
God.
That right there, that might actually be a good clip for some specific training, right?
Yes, that's being
questioned. Now, if you're being questioned by law enforcement, like this is what this is what your body's doing. Yeah, it's the shoulders are dropping, the head's dropping down, defeated. Like, oh, you're done.
It's like we didn't ask you the question yet. Yeah.
His head, dude. I caught the dude. His head shaking yes, and he said no. I was howling. I was absolutely howling. I was like, wow, you're really bad at this, dude.
Those that's the video, of him with the hooker in the room, where it's questionable whether his wife was in there or not, and that is Gallegos sitting on the bed.
100%.
It's him, and he's got the same shoes, he's got the same hairline, he's got the same 2 patches in the back of his head. That is him. But that's just, it's debauchery, and that's horrible. It's illegal with prostitution, but that's just debauchery. The roofing people. That's another level. It's like
that's the Bill Cosby.
You're going away. I hope. But all it takes is to pay off the victims, man. That's all it takes. That's all it takes.
Yeah. What they have to worry about is, again, and it's I would imagine that Swalwell knows where some other bodies are buried, right? And so it's like, is he? And I think that he's the type of guy that if he's looking at 10 to 15 or whatever, he's like, oh, okay, not a problem. Because guess what? Y'all are coming with me.
Especially if it's another politician, right?
Oh, 100%.
Right.
100%. Like his buddy, like his buddy Gallegos. He'd be like,
well, and here's the thing. Here's what pisses me off about that. And that's with him. That's because now, all these Democrats are coming out. Yeah, I always knew. Like, dude, people that do that, and again, we don't even know what the end numbers are going to be. It's like Luke was just saying, more and more will come out. People know. His buddies knew. His Democrat colleagues knew. People know that. And it's just like it reminds me of the school shooting when they're like, oh, yeah, I knew it was that kid. It's like, dude, people know that stuff. And now with Swalwell, they're like, yeah, he was always sleazy, man. He just, so you just sat on it for 8 years. Well, probably longer than that. I mean, stuff like that. I don't know when he entered the house or whatever, but it's probably happened since day one after he was elected.
Again, all that stuff, and both sides do it. All that stuff, they got it, and somebody somebody's like, I'm keeping this in my pocket until they are no longer needed.
Oh yeah.
And
God,
then
he's
it's
such
like,
an asshole too.
it's like, oh, you're not value added anymore. Goodbye. You see where TMZ set up an office in DC? They are offering $100,000 to anyone with dirt on politicians. Like, where have y'all been? I love it. I absolutely love it. If I had some, I go collect that $100K.
You know, but when it comes out that Lindsey Graham is the oldest aging queen on the face of the earth, closeted queen, I'll be like, dude, just let it go, bro. We don't like you either way. What's the difference?
That goes back to Roger's like, well, everybody knows it's not going to be a shocker to a lot of people because everybody's like, yeah, dude, we all do that.
It's like, duh. So let me ask you this: with the, because the one lady, I can't remember her name, out of Florida that they're going to expel because she's got like federal charges for not embezzlement, but whatever, campaign finance, whatever. Should you? So let's say that happened before voters knew about it and she's elected still by her constituents, by the population. Should they be able to expel her out of the House?
No.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Because and
I don't know her timeline. Like, I don't know what her timeline is. But in general,
yeah. What was the guy? He was like from Connecticut or Rhode Island, the Republican who just completely like made up his resume, like made all this stuff up. But it came out during his campaign, and people were like, "Okay, I don't care. Like that's still my guy."
Well, how illegal are we talking here? Because there are some crimes that, you can still get elected, but you are going to go to jail, and you can still be in the House of Representatives and be in jail, I suppose, So there's got to be something.
Well, I think she might actually be looking at jail time. I think hers are like felony, like money offenses. I'd have to look it up.
That's an interesting question that, can you?
But I mean, let's say no jail time, right? Because jail time, you could argue, okay, you're in jail, you're not able to serve, but no jail time, you're under investigation, or even, hey, you're convicted and you had to pay a fine or whatever, and it's a felony offense.
Sure, Phyllis McCormick.
Yeah, there you go.
Her name. 25 ethics violations that the House Ethics Committee found. Okay. So here's what, it's not just campaign stuff. She is being accused of using $5 million in disaster relief funds, and to finance her campaign through her family businesses. I don't think you can use disaster relief funds for that.
Well, I mean, maybe her campaign was in shambles and that helped her get out of it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
I know, bad joke. Sorry.
It's all good. You know what, dude? At the end of the day, and of all the people in DC and all the bad things they've done, that right there, you're like, okay.
Yeah, I know, right?
That's it? Like, really, that's it? Like, I mean, you had Hillary Clinton, like, unaliving people. And so, people were like, oh, she embezzled some money and used it, to enrich her family. It's like, okay. Barack Obama allegedly had a relationship with the chef who, mysteriously drowned while paddleboarding.
Dude, what about Gavin Newsom's wife?
Oh my God.
Dude.
You know what's amazing about that? You know what's amazing about
my jaws? I was like, oh my Lord.
This is the world we live in. He has killed more people on a golf cart than Tiger Woods has. That's crazy. Yeah, she came out, for those who aren't tracking, is like, I killed my sister with a golf cart. And so I understand people in prison, their plight. And it's like, what?
And she told that
to like, what?
Didn't she tell that at like San Quentin?
Yes.
Yeah, and then I got off on it because of my white privilege. So I totally understand.
Yeah, and it was like, I don't think there's a statute of limitations on murder. It's like
Lord.
It's like, I'm sorry, you what? That was like the dude, that was like the guy on X who was like, my wife used to be really, really promiscuous right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
it went on, but it was like, bro, you could not have waterboarded that first sentence out of me, right? Like, what are you doing? Or the one of the women with Swalwell with her husband, he was like, he made me go down on him in his car. And it was like, and her husband, while they were married, her husband was like, I'm standing by her. And it was like, what? Huh? It's like, dude.
Oversharing,
Okay.
dude. People feel
Yeah.
like they got to put that out there.
Yeah.
Speaking
It's
of
like,
unaliving, this one's actually kind of bothering me a little bit because I don't see how it's a hoax. It absolutely is all connected. Have you seen there are now 10 people who are either dead or missing involved in either propulsion laboratories or the nuclear programs with Department of
yes.
Energy? 10, all in New Mexico and California.
Yes.
And like 3 or 4 of them, maybe 3, have similar circumstances where they left their wallet, they left all their electronics, everything in the house, and 2 of them only left the house with a gun, and they never saw him again. It's like, what the hell is going on here? Like, what do you think's going on with it? Is this just all a coincidence? I mean,
Nope.
I mean, so what's going on?
Dude, that is not organic. That is not organic. That is not organic at all. And
What
it's
are
not
your
a coincidence.
theories?
I haven't really thought about it, but I've looked at it. It's like, dude, they were either working on something that is so, I'm talking about like super secret squirrel that they're like, dude, we can't, you can't Men in Black flash you these things and this can't get out. So we just got to unalive these people. Or they saw some shit that they weren't supposed to see. Or there's an adversary that is looking at our programs and they're taking the Mossad, they're taking the Mossad playbook and be like, no, we just start unaliving people working on.
They would have to. Yes, I agree. Those 3 things, and there could be a 4th, but I haven't thought about it that much. The 3rd one you mentioned, I find plausible, but that would have to be China. It would have to be China. Because our programs would have to be so thoroughly compromised that they would have to know who was working on what.
100%. No, I 100% agree. It would have to be China, and then China outsources that, right? China outsources that to the Ruskies, who the Ruskies are good at that. They are good at that. When you talk about capable intelligence services, and you think about how long the southern border has been open, it would not be hard to get folks in to start taking care of those.
Dude, a few metric shit ton of Russians came right across that border, dude. Military age male Russians. I couldn't do anything about it, man. We could sit there and talk to them. We could hold them for up to 72 hours, and then they're gone. And I told everybody on this podcast probably 3 times now about the ranch out in California back in 2022 that had basically 2 battalions worth of military age males living in Connexes, air-conditioned Connexes, 7 to a Connex. It's like, what? If you would have told me this in 1986, it's just it's a crazy thing. And Roger put it in the chat. JPL. The Joint Propulsion Laboratories, and Plasma Science and Fusion Center, astrophysicist. Good grief, classified space nuclear programs vanished.
Well, it's just how they disappeared or died. I mean, you've got, in this I just put up off Newsweek. You've got one that no cause of death disclosed. Then you've got then an employee vanished. Then a month later, you've got another employee that vanished just yards from others in her hiking group. 4 days later, one just disappeared from her residence. Mobile devices have been wiped. Yeah, because we all do that, and you've got another one that just vanished. Body finally recovered in a lake. Then you've got another one was attacked in his home. One was shot in his front porch. That one, okay, maybe you can explain. And then you've got the retired Air Force general in New Mexico left his home and has not been seen since. Dude, I think Josh hit it on the head. I mean, that 100%.
Well, and I don't want to, for those in the audience who aren't black-pilled and aren't as informed as others, and this will probably come as a shock. Hey, I learned, speaking of shock, I don't want to lose my point too much. I labored under the misconception for decades that suicide is illegal. Turns out it's not illegal at all. I did not know that. I guess it's growing up in the church and stuff. It's a sin, so therefore it must be illegal. Suicide's not illegal. I did not know that. Anyway, yeah, it's only illegal in Virginia under Commonwealth law, right? But the Commonwealth law is not enforced in Virginia. Now, if you shoot yourself in your home, you killed yourself. You have done an illegal act. You have discharged a firearm within city limits if you live in the city. But otherwise, you haven't really broken any laws. Anyway, I knew I was going to lose my train of thought on that. Dang it. Talking
about being black-pilled. And
black-pilled. Okay, so yeah, we talk about Nancy Guthrie, right? Still haven't found her body. For those of you who don't know, the vast majority of homicides go unsolved in this country. The vast majority. So
she's dead.
Oh yeah, she's dead. But that's my point. It's like, you hire, some Russians who know how to do this in the home country or whomever. I'm not saying it's easy to get away with, but you can definitely get away with it.
So what do you think happened with her? I mean, you think that was a robbery gone bad? Do you think it was going to be a ransom thing? What do you guys, what's your opinion?
My Occam's razor robbery gone bad. And they didn't think it through. But you look at how Savannah Guthrie handled it. I don't want to be all conspiratorial or anything, but it could have been something where it's like, hey, I feel like, my contract's coming up at CBS or whoever she worked for. Let's do a little something. Let's not let mom in on it. And maybe they got in there and then it went bad. I don't know. It's very strange, but she's dead. Like Josh said, she's dead. Period. Come on.
Yeah, I don't. I think it's I think it's a robbery gone bad, or something like that. I don't think it was a kidnapping for ransom, because there's really been no big demand. There's been no because at the end of the day, they would eventually come up and said, this is what we want. Police haven't come out and said there's a ransom, and I think it would have been leaked by now, because dude, she's even it's completely out of the news cycle at this point. And yeah, dude, she's unalive somewhere. So
well, and she's definitely not, because this. If she was, the CIA would have used their ghost murmur thing to find her. God bless. Yeah. I don't know if you guys saw that on X. Us posted about that. Yeah. So apparently, and it could all be BS, but seems legit to me. When that weapons support officer Wizzo went down in Iran, they got the pilot. That's going to make a great movie, by the way, and I can't wait.
Oh, it's going to be
it's done right. It should be done right. But they said that one of the methods they used to track him down was called ghost murmur, where from 40 kilometers away they can detect a heartbeat because of the electrical whatever. Because every time it's an electrical process, your heart beating. Everybody knows that. But they detect that stuff and take that down the rabbit hole a little bit further. Everybody's heartbeat's different. So if you can record the exact, electromagnetic, signature that someone's heart actually, they're going to start doing that at JPRA. I'm telling you, they are. They're going to, they're going to be like, okay, this particular guy's heartbeat beats at whatever megahertz or whatever it is, and that's the signature. So that's the one we're looking for. And that could be done in a crowd. Dude, that's some great, from 40 kilometers is the thing that got me. And maybe that's BS, but it seems legit.
Take it one step further. When now I can identify you, because your heartbeat's essentially a fingerprint, right? Unique to you. Now take that, and I can send an electromagnetic pulse that only targets that specific heartbeat.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's some James Bond. That's beyond James Bond, man. That's pretty cool.
I know I'm circling back real quick, but I'm actually surprised they didn't keep Swalwell in the gubernatorial race, because it looks like California is probably going to have a Republican governor because of that.
I'll believe that when I see it.
Well, California, and I had to look it up when I was heard it the other day on Fox, but California takes the top 2 vote getters, regardless of party, and there's runoff. They're talking about low name recognition. So there's only 2 Republicans running, Chad Bianco and Steve Hilton. Hilton leading that, there were 8 Democrats. And of the 8 Democrats, outside of Steyer and Swalwell, nobody else has name recognition. So they were like, hey, voter apathy, low name recognition, and too many candidates, it dilutes the vote.
You may be right, but California will elect a crazy lady who dumps scalding hot mashed potatoes on her husband's head before they elect a Republican for governor.
That's not have a choice unless you just can't cheat enough to find your way out of it.
They will.
I don't even know if it takes cheating in California. Those people are nuts. So,
but
Josh,
it's just San Francisco and LA. That's nuts. I mean, all your rural areas, just like anywhere else, man. It's all red.
So the rescue of the pilot thing, pretty good op, pretty decent op. Even though, as soon as I've said this on the podcast before, and Darren's going to love this, it's like the second I saw that 2 C-130s got caught in the sand, I was like, "Yep, SEAL Team 6 had something to do with this." Because SEAL Team 6 can have a great mission. They accomplish the mission, right? And that's great. And that's all that matters, as everybody comes back alive and the mission was accomplished, but they're going to fuck something up. And they did. And not the SEALs. They didn't screw it up, but the SEALs were involved and it got screwed up.
Bro, yeah. It's funny because there was, and I think, Cynical Publius said something about this, but and he's absolutely right. There is some major that was sitting in sitcom headquarters or sitting somewhere in some talk forward whose sole purpose was to figure out the soil density and the soil composition to see if it could handle a couple of C-130Js. And he was like, yep, good to go. And next thing you know, the nose gear is like, they go straight into the quicksand. And he's like, sad major. That poor guy. Yeah. That poor dude.
We can laugh about it, but man, think about the complexity of that operation. We had
crazy.
Venezuela, and now this, and I personally, and I'm sure you guys were too, pins and needles, dude. When that guy was, he went 38 hours, something like that. I was pins and needles, man. I got up early on a Sunday. I was, what's the update? What's the update? And it was, man, crazy.
Well, you think about it because what's going to happen. Nothing good is going to happen to him if they get him. Dude, and if locals get their hands on him, that's it probably going to end even worse. So yeah, no, man, it'd be badass op. There'll be a movie about it. SEAL Team 6 is involved. There will be a book about it before a movie, possibly even a video game. So we get
and we launched another rocket, Artemis 2, during all that stuff, man.
He circled the moon.
Bro, we beat 2026 timeline. I'm kind of digging it. We beat Canada in hockey. Artemis 2, the pilot in the Wizzo. Like, man, it's
we're transitioning into what Josh has wanted to talk about for an hour and 5 minutes now. So, but I want to highlight this with which you again. I said I was on pins and needles. I was on pins and needles for that colonel. None of us knew he was a colonel, but that service member who got shot down. Number one, it's like, because I can't imagine. But number two, the second order and third order effect of me being on pins and needles is like, this is the world we live in now. What have we said over and over? We've told a lot of students this, and we've said it on this podcast. The American people have become intolerant of casualties, completely intolerant of casualties, especially when they're jet pilots, right? And officers and good-looking guys and stuff like that. And it's like, if they catch this guy, it's over. All of this is over because we will not stand for that. The heat will be on the administration so hard because of one lost Wizzo. And it honestly, I don't want to see anybody die. You guys know what I'm saying, what I'm trying to say when I say this. It's like, but dude, our resolve has to go beyond one Wizzo. And you sink one ship. If China decides to get squirrely and go over and get Taiwan, All they have to do is sink a couple of ships, and imagine the headlines in the New York Times. 3,000 sailors dead in 2 hours. It's over. That's what the administration, that's what the decision makers, good looking guy. That's what they have to deal with. That's part of the calculus now. It's like every single person. What if they shot down 4 planes in one night? Got lucky with a bunch of SA-7s or something. Boy, oh boy. It's very tenuous. It's very tenuous. So, okay, Josh, how is Trump screwing everything up with this Iran stuff?
He's like, it's gone on too long. It's gone on too long. Right? We talked about it a couple episodes ago. It's like he's got to wrap this up in 2 weeks. This stuff started on what, the 28th of February? 27, 28 February is kind of when it started. How many weeks ago is that now? I mean, that's
I think we're
6
2 weeks over. I think we're 2 weeks over what we said the last time we recorded.
Yeah, and so, when he came out, I think it was like maybe like week 3. He came out and was like, "Hey, we've met our military objectives." And it's like, okay, then, hey, we've met our military objectives. Either, let's start shutting it down. You pull them to the table and go ahead and start. It's like, because you think you look at even before the ceasefire, when we were grabbing the Wizzo out of the mountains, we really weren't bombing anything. Israel stopped bombing stuff. We have one or two, one or two high profile strikes after that. But other than that, it's like, okay, so you had popular support at the beginning. All right. Again, I'm thinking about this, long term, long term as Americans think, right? Which is like, 30, 45, 60 days. So you have popular support at the beginning. Most people are like, yeah, the people or, the naysayers are always going to be naysayers, but a lot of people who are supportive, like you said, dude, after like 3 weeks, a month, people are like, okay, dude, like what is the end goal here? Right. Again, it's, now it's not a war. I'm not going to call it a war. Right. But you have this conflict going on. Nobody's really stated these are our end goals. This is the objective. Is it to keep Iran from, having a nuclear weapon? Okay, cool. What do we need to do? I think we already did that, right? We already set them back. We probably set them back 10, 15 years from being able to do it, right? Just, by destroying the infrastructure and the stuff needed to enrich it. So, okay, what are we doing? Now you have lost people. It's almost not even the news cycle anymore. It's almost, to the point where it's out of the news cycle, and it's like, to what end? Honestly, like to what end?
Roger, you want to chime in, or are you just going to stay on mute?
I just plan on staying on mute till the next time we record for another 3 weeks. No, I agree with Josh. The one thing that bothers me is the timeline. I think the timeline's like you expect it to be done earlier. We all three said, hey, it needs to be done earlier. But I will say that he has made, in my opinion, he's made the right moves beyond the timeline. Whereas now, I mean, and look, we talked about this the other day. There's no boots on the ground. One, I don't think there can ever be boots on the ground. It is clear that they're wanting. Well, I mean, I think they keep saying they don't really want regime change is not the objective, but it is to some extent, or somebody they can at least work with or negotiate with. But it's, I think they'll get, well, it's early. I think he'll get away with it up to the point where, like you said, with the pilot being shot down, something like that, something catastrophic like that happens. I mean, it's over. It's a done deal. If this thing turns out in 2-3 weeks that we have a deal and the strait is open and oil starts flowing again, I mean, I think what he did with the blockade is genius. But all of that is good as long as there's no loss of life. I think the minute you have a loss of life, destroyer gets blown up or whatever the case is. And I'm not even confident with Iran and its mines. Maybe you guys are smarter than me on that, but we laid some mines in the strait. We actually don't know where they're at. I mean, I'm not even sure there might be a mine out there, but the numbers that they talk about. But I think as long as you can keep equipment from getting blown up, and service members dying, he can drag this out longer, and probably won't face any, too much negative feedback as people look back at it 6 months from now, 8 months from now.
Well, I'm personally, there's a couple different ways to look at this, and there's a lot. There's a lot of context and multi layers to this stuff. So you have to approach what's going on right now, in my mind, anyway. You have to approach it with, do they know what they're doing or not? Okay. A lot of people, most people, are approaching it with, they have no idea what they're doing. They don't have a plan. I have seen what Trump did in his first term, and I've seen what he's done so far in his second term. And I'm going to say, it's not just Trump, it's the entire administration. And this occurred to me, Josh, when I was listening to the Pete Blaber thing. It seems to me that they might be listening to the person on the ground a little bit more. I mean, look at the Secretary of Defense. He was more of a guy on the ground. He didn't go through the crucible of making, 4-star general and all that nonsense. So I'm approaching this with, okay, maybe there's some sane voices when it comes to geopolitical major tectonic shifts, when it comes to not just Iran, but also China and the rest of the world. It's not just military objectives. And again, I may be totally wrong on this, Josh. I may be totally wrong, and I acknowledge that. But if they know what they're doing, what I see is kind of a slightly less than a tectonic shift, because for the last 30 years, all we've heard about, what we were trained on, what we learned about in all these seminars and conferences that we went to was the Strait of Hormuz, the Strait of Hormuz, the Strait of Hormuz, which gave Iran so much power, because they control that. And that's a complex thing too. What does it mean to control that strait? It's not just about money. It's about, the petrodollar. It's about all these things. What in effect happened, in my understanding, and I've read quite a bit about this, we'll never know exactly what was said in the negotiations, but I think I texted somebody last night, but I was like, in the negotiations, what Iran said was, well, there might be a couple mines out there, so you're going to have to play by our rules. And my understanding is they called the bluff. They're like, where are the mines? Where did you lay them? What ship laid them? They're like, we don't know. They're just out there. And it's like, that is extortion. They were using extortion tactics. And if you look back at the history of the Navy, that's one of the reasons we stood up a Navy, was like, we're not going to be extorted on the high seas. We're not going to do it. And the reason our Navy exists is to ensure free trade and make sure no one country, because of a strait, has that kind of control over the global markets. So where does the majority, do we get any oil from that comes through the Strait of Hormuz? It's negligible, the amount of oil we get. Negligible. Oil and natural gas. It all goes to Southeast Asia. A portion of it goes to Europe. 20% of the world's supplies, and of that 20%, I think something like 17 goes to Southeast Asia. Well, who's the dragon in Southeast Asia? That's China. And China right now has been strangely quiet, which is a bit disconcerting. 35 to 45% of their oil through the Strait of Hormuz is what Josh just said. That's China. That's a lot. But China's also, you look at this, you remember when they started stocking up on their strategic reserves about a year and a half ago? Yeah. They've got a lot in strategic reserve. Now, what happened before Iran? We went in and got Venezuela. They're playing ball a little bit. Now we've got all these ships coming into the Gulf of America, Gulf of Mexico, whatever you want to call it, to fill up. Now, what your average American doesn't see or doesn't understand is that the price of the pump is going to go up, not because the Strait of Hormuz is closed down, because we don't get any petroleum from there. It's because now everybody's buying from us, and they're buying from different markets. That strains ours. It's supply and demand. That makes the price at the pump go up. It just does, because now it's in more demand. My dad always said, starting in the 80s, he said, higher gas price is a good thing. And I'm like, what? And his thing was supply and demand. It means people want to buy our oil, and it's kind of right. The bad thing is, like in the Eagle Ford Shale and the Permian Basin, once, when it comes to fracking, once oil gets above about $80 a barrel, they stop fracking because it's not worth pulling it up out of the ground. But, I don't know. I want to assume I got way more to say on that and get real dorky technical on it, but I think it was kind of a funny move. I just kind of laughed at it. It's like, wait, you're going to shut down the Strait of Hormuz? No, you're going to try. No, we're going to shut down.
That's
That's
genius.
what's going to happen. And that showed to the world. If you want to be cynical about it, it showed to the world all the U.S. has to do is go to get in a conflict with Iran again, and we can shut that straight down. So it's no longer Iran that can shut it down; it's the U.S. and Iran that can shut it down. It changed a lot of calculus, and I'm not saying that's assuming everybody knows what they're doing. And I told Roger last night. I had a quick conversation with Roger about some other stuff he hasn't got back to me on yet. But I told him I am at this point 100% against boots on the ground. At this point, 100%. We cannot risk it. Not at this point. No way. And I'm not even talking about John. I'm not talking about mainland Iran. I'm talking about like Karg Island, stuff like that. Don't do it. Not now. Don't do it.
Yeah, and you bring up some great points about other countries, especially strategic competitors and adversaries like China, getting now we're imposing costs on them by by basically blockading the Strait of Hormuz, except for the Chinese oil tanker that drove through the blockade today and went on its merry way. Right, and we didn't stop it. We didn't block it. It just went right on through. It traversed our blockade without permission. So what do you do? Are we going to fight the next Chinese tanker, right? Or the next tanker that's headed to, Cuba, the next tanker that's headed to China, the next tanker that's headed to, somebody who we rather it not go to? Are we going to sink it when it runs the blockade? Because we didn't sink the Chinese ship today. So what do? They already called our bluff, and we blinked. You guys see the reports China's sending missiles to Iran, right? So again, and I'm not saying we shouldn't have started schwacking Iranian senior leadership. I fully support that. Absolutely, we talked about it a lot on the on here about like we invaded the wrong country in 2003. It always should have been Iran. Like we should have been schwacking those dudes left and right for 2 decades now. So I'm not going to get upset about that. But it's like, okay, what are we doing? What's the end game? Because if it's a regime change, it 100% you have to put boots on the ground for that. You are not going to decapitate this regime 100% without doing it. I don't see how you can. Right? They bake that in. It would require the Iranian people to do what they did, 4 months ago, 5 months ago now, and we sat idly by and just kind of watched it, fizzle out. It would take them plus, boots on the ground to affect regime change.
But you've read The Art of the Deal, right? You've read that, and the first negotiation never works. It never works. And Iran has read that book too. The problem is, one of the problems is that who exactly are we dealing with right now? That's something that the three of us, don't know. You got embassies out of Zimbabwe, Iranian embassies out of Zimbabwe and South Africa posted some pretty funny stuff on X, and it's like, who's directing them to do that? Nobody knows. So who's in charge? It's like you said, regime change. I keep right back to you. It's like, I don't know if classic regime change is in the end game. I don't think that's part of the calculus at all, because I think we're looking at more of a regime change a la Venezuela. Let's just get somebody in there that's going to work with us, at least a little bit, and that'll be part of the negotiations. And and I agree with you. It's like part of the problem with this is, and I understand it's negotiations. They can't let everything go. They can't let. It's got to be closed door, but maybe, I don't know. And a lot of this speculation. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll see.
I don't know. It comes down to we talked about it in 2022 when, Russia fired their offensive back up, pushed on into Ukraine. It's like, it's only going to take one person making a mistake to tip this thing, the way we don't want it to go. I'm not saying, we shouldn't do it. Right. But again, it's like, okay, we don't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. I think it was Bessett came out today and was like, we will not allow, we have to remove their capability to have a nuclear weapon. Okay. Well, what does that mean? Like, or do we just destroy the centrifuges to where they can't enrich it? They can't use it? Does that mean we physically remove the uranium that they are in possession of? Because that requires boots on the ground. That requires a lot of boots on the ground, right? And some very specialized boots. Those that could go sideways, that could go sideways very quickly. And now you introduce Chinese munitions and Chinese missiles. Like, I mean, it's like, it's like, okay.
So let's say you're part of the negotiations or you're on the team or whatever, because we wouldn't want Josh in negotiations. Josh is the guy you want in the meeting, but not what's the term?
Josh is the guy you take to the meeting, not send to the meeting.
Yeah. So, and this is a good question for Roger, baby. What does the U.S. have to negotiate with Iran? Like, what? Okay, Iran's like, okay, what do we get out of this? We want this to be over, dude. We got to. He's walked off more times in this episode than all the others combined. I think. Walk off, bitch. So anyway, what does the U.S. have? It's like, what do you get out of this, Iran? We'll lift this. If you agree to these, 6 terms, we'll lift the sanctions. And now you can trade in X, Y, and Z. You stand to make $100 billion in the first year just from the sanctions that are lifted. Like, what do we have? Like, what do we have to offer them? Because we're going to have to give something.
Biggest thing right now is just, return of some normal way of life, because when you shut the Hormuz of Strait or the Strait down, Strait of Hormuz, they have zero. When you look at these sanctions and the Strait being closed, they have zero revenue. Right. So that, what you're really, and, this is what I've heard echoed through just interviews, is that you're offering them some sort of revenue coming back in, because they're basically like right now it's to a drip. Couple other points on some things that you made. The one thing that worries me, and it doesn't worry me, the question is, I think Josh hit it on the head, and it was a little different with the Chinese ship that came through, because they actually beaconed as a Saudi Arabian ship or whatever. And I think there's some waivers out there as far as ships that are coming through. But what the question really goes to, and this is what Josh was getting to, Chinese state sanctioned ship decides, I'm running this blockade. Like, I'm flying the Chinese flag. I'm running this blockade. Like, what do you do? Are you really willing to try to stop them? Because the agreement has been, or the way it looks is that, well, as long as it's not an Iranian export directly to, attributable to them or whatever, that's fine. But then if you take China that's going in directly to get Iranian oil and leave through the Strait with it, like, what do you do to that ship? That's where the mistake comes in. Where it's like, okay, there's some bad things that can happen there if you're not prepared to act, right? If you don't have, and I'm assuming they already have COAs laid out for that. I mean, that's got to be in the calculus. And I know I'm jumping around a little bit on this, but part of the reason why gas prices are as high now, and I don't care what president you are or whatever, but dude, when the last time we built a refinery was here that can handle that kind of crude?
It's been decades.
It's the 70s. Right. So that's why we have to have the Keystone Pipeline. Do you know that California gets 30% of their oil from the Strait? As a country, we only get like 2% or something like that. But California gets theirs. And that's why we had to import our stuff from everywhere else, because our refineries can't even refine that crude oil anymore. Anything that heavy. So it's just like, point being is there's a whole lot of things that are just like, like them, love them, hate them, whatever. My opinion is Trump's trying to fix a lot of things that should have been fixed decades ago through numerous presidents. Now, are you going to get them all fixed? Probably not. It's a lot, man. It's a lot going on. But, that would be my biggest worry. I think the blockade was a genius move. Keep it up. That's what you have a Navy for. Don't put boots on the ground. The regime change, I get, and Josh, you brought it up. So at what point do the Iranian people actually start to take to the streets and take back their country? Because that's the other thing. Like when you look at bigger picture, okay, right now we've got governments talking, maybe a government in Iran, whoever the hell we're talking to, but it's like, hey man, how long do you continue to do this? Even though supporting the cause, how long do you continue to do this if the people aren't taking the streets to take their country back? Because at that point, like, okay, so what is the solution then? Right now, I got the nuclear piece, completely agree with it. Get rid of all the, uranium, whatever. They can't have a nuke, blah, 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 blah. ICBM, get rid of that stuff. Got it. But if the Iranian people aren't willing to go take their government back, like, there's no solution until you get to a point where they do, right?
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, no long-term solution.
No long-term viable solution for sure.
Right.
They don't even know what take the government back means anymore. I mean, everybody who had it the way it was in, 1978 is dead or too old to do anything about it. It's like, I guess I'm quibbling over terms, but
no, but
take
you might
the government,
It's a valid
you might
point.
be exactly right. But it's like, at what point do you get to where, like, hey man, theoretically we've got some agencies out there that handle this type of stuff on the ground, but it's like, you have to have, and I'll use the term boots on the ground, but the analogy is like, point being is you have to have ground control and you have to have people on the ground, the grassroots movement. And if the people of Iran aren't willing to take their government, take it back, do whatever, there is no long-term solution with that.
So you've got an agency that's supposed to be specialized in regime change. You give them 47 years, and what do they come up with? Freaking ghost murmur. They don't change the regime, but at least we saved one pilot because of ghost murmur, right? Hey, big success.
I mean, if they were looking for me, I'd want them to use the ghost murmur, but just saying.
Laughs in Cuba. Yeah. It's no, and you're spot on. At some point, it's one of those, hey, Iranian people, it's got balls in your court, man. Like,
I mean, that's when you start dropping like weapons caches and stuff, right? Like, I want to 100% see some shit coming out of 141s from the skies with just like AKs loaded everywhere.
That, I mean, dude, kind of just because I don't think we really don't use it anymore, but that's when Commando Solo is, flying, dropping radios, dropping leaflet. I mean, that is 100%. That you got to have that. You got to get. It's like, now is the moment. Now is your time, right? And maybe the right time to start this was it when there were tens of thousands of people in the street protesting, and that were on our side. Again, to Luke's point, it's like, I don't know. Maybe the time to, disrupt introduce some turbulence into the regime was, maybe that was the time. We wait until, however many tens of thousands were, killed, by the IRGC. And then we started, it's like, okay, all right, I guess. Maybe, again, I don't know. I do have faith and confidence that, JD Vance and Rubio, know what they're doing. Like, there's, not a doubt in my mind. JD Vance is a good negotiator. Rubio's been absolutely killing it as the Secretary of State. And so again, I just, when I look at it, it's like, hey man, you guys need to wrap this thing up. Like it is. And we said it, a couple episodes ago. It's like, you need to wrap it. You have 2 weeks before people start getting tired of it. And people are just like done. And, to Luke's point, if there are minds out there, let's just say there, because I'm sure there are still some minds floating around, somewhere in the Persian Gulf, like, and probably vicinity of Strait of the Hormuz. Granted, we have a lot of good technology that we haven't had, that we didn't have in the 80s, right? Because I think if I forget what the ship was, there were some tankers that hit some, and then I think a U.S. warship hit one, back in the 80s. And so it's like, are those things still floating around out there? I'm sure there's a couple, they're like, it's like landmines, dude. It's like, I kind of don't know where those things, got put. They came off their moorings and they're just kind of, they're just kind of free balling around. All it's going to take is, one U.S. ship to hit one of those things and a bunch of sailors get killed. And then that's going to be a wrap. And, at the end of the day, you got the midterms coming. And
we're going to lose those anyway. I was thinking about that today. It's not going to matter. We were saying this before Iran, before Venezuela. We're going to lose the midterms, and
Possibly,
I guess it depends on how bad. But
well,
we're going to lose that.
That was before, and this may not move the needle. We kind of wait, let the situation develop. But with all the Swalwell and the Gallego stuff coming up, and then who knows who else is going to get exposed? That may that may throw a monkey wrench into that, and it's like, hey man, we actually there might be a couple races where we we might do well because yeah, we'll see. But dude, we got to wrap it up in Iran. We need to. We need to wrap it up.
Well, that's where I'm going to change. And we've said this for a long time. We're allowed to change our opinions. We're allowed to change our stances based on new information, based on changing mindsets, and that's where I'm going to respectfully disagree from my previous point the last time we recorded, where I was like, we need to wrap this up in a couple of weeks, and I did believe that. But at this point, since the negotiations are going on, we're going to start bombing them again. That's going to happen within 7 days, and I think that going to have to stay the course on this at this point, regardless of what that means for, his approval ratings. And this is barring, a ship getting sunk or multiple pilots going down, a catastrophic event. We got to stay the course. And I don't see this wrapping up before the middle of summer, before, maybe a breakthrough. But you said something interesting that jogged my memory. And I think it's hilarious that, we talk about the CIA and how smart they are and everything. And it's like, let's run guns, to the citizens of Iran, but let's have the Kurds do it. And I think I find it funny. I find it darkly humorous that the Kurds are like, okay, yeah. We're going to help you out. We're going to help you out. Yes, US, my brother. Right. And they're like, no, bitch, fool me 5 times. Shame on me, right? And they're like, no. This is the 6th time we're keeping this stuff because we're not getting screwed again. You're giving us weapons to give to somebody else? No. So it's like CIA, I guess they had no choice, but it's like, surely that entered into the risk matrix. It's like, these guys might have learned from the past, 30 years and been like, no.
Do you guys remember the movie Spies Like Us?
Yeah.
Remember at
Chevy
the end,
Chase and Martin Short?
Dan Aykroyd. Chevy Chase, Dan Aykroyd. Remember at the end where they're in the movie, they're in the room with the Soviets and they're negotiating and they're just playing Risk, and that's how they're negotiating. I wonder what it's like in the negotiation room with JD Vance and them. Are they just like have a big Risk game out on the table and they're like, oh, you've lost Azerbaijan. Right? Like, like is that how it's going?
You bring up something interesting with JD Vance, right? Because we had talked about it, and I find with 2028, like who's going to run to be very interesting, because to me it seemed like that JD Vance might be getting a little big for his britches in Trump's mind, right? So JD Vance kind of got sidelined for a while, and Marco Rubio was on the rise, and they were having their little man crush and everything. Now they send JD Vance over to do the negotiations, which failed. By the way, just whatever. It was the first negotiation. We all knew it was going to fail. Is JD Vance going to come in on the second one? Is he going to continue to be, or is this Trump's way of like sidelining JD Vance because he's getting a little too big? I don't want him to outshine me because Trump's ego is the biggest on the planet. I don't know. I'm getting a little house of cards with it, but just interesting.
I'd be kind of curious to see who Trump would actually back between the two, Rubio and Vance. Right? I mean, by default, you'd say, well, back the VP. I mean, he could always play the, hey, Republican primary, just play itself out, but that's not his style. It'd be hard pressed, not to pick your own vice president. But it's like you guys have said. I mean, Rubio, man, he has murdered it. So I mean,
yeah. I watched the UFC. I watched the UFC the other night, and Trump and Rubio showed up, and Rubio was blasted, dude. I was watching. I was like, that dude's drunk. That dude's drunker than.
Dude, that guy
wouldn't you be
straight shit house. that guy, dude, Ruby, I was like, that dude is blitzed out of his gourd. Like, I have it, dude. You looked at him and you're like, I've been that drunk before, but it's been a really long time. That dude is straight just, I mean, he is lit.
Dude, that's Paul Pelosi drunk right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, dude, he was straight lit, man. He had the puffy red face. You know, you sweating a little bit. He's just like, dude.
So I got a question for you, Luke, being that you were a former,
Oh,
federal employee, civilian on the civilian side. So you got Mark Rubio, that Secretary of State, acting National Security Advisor, acting administrator of USAID, and acting archivist of the United States. So what's his pension look like?
Well, I'm not gonna grok it. So
That's a serious question. I'm like, man, he's holding all these roles.
No, and I've got another question. Like, so how does that? So it's part of the FERS program, the Federal Employee Retirement System, and it's going to be based on the high three. So obviously, hopefully for him, he's going to make his high three as a Secretary of State. I don't know if you get any extra pays for all these things you do. I would say probably not.
there are additional duties.
Yeah, so I would say his pension high three be pretty healthy, without the speaking fees and the consulting fees and all those things. If he just had to live on his pension, I would guess for if you had a semi-modest lifestyle, it would be enough to live off of, very comfortably. But yeah, that's a good question because Roger, I think Roger, when you were visiting, I think we were talking about this. It's like, well, House of Representatives, and Josh, this was surprising to me because, it's like the suicide being an illegal thing. I was laboring under assumption that, dude, if you just serve 3 years in the House of Representatives, you're set for life. And that is not necessarily the case at all because it's part of FERS. And it's like, well, damn, yeah, it's not the greatest retirement in the world. It's crazy, which is a good thing.
Well, that started, because you had that urban legend that, just somehow people just took as, face value as facts. Like, oh, you just serve one term in the House of Representatives and you get your, salary for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. And it's like, that's not even close to being true. Like, not even remotely. But that's always kind of, it's always kind of stuck. And you still see it, a lot on social media and stuff like that. And you're just like, dude, at this point, you can't know everything about everything. But, I think the three of us are pretty good. And I catch myself all the time is, I go to, say something or, post something on X or something like that. It's like, you know what? Hold on. Let me check this. Right. It's like, let me fact check myself before I look stupid. But again, it honestly, in this day and age, before you go off and, because, of course, social media is filled with, experts of, insert the current news cycle, here. And it's like on stuff like that, though, the simple stuff like, does a member of, the House of Representatives, maintain their salary for the rest of your life if they only serve one term? Like, that information is available to you. Go pick your AI platform of choice. Go pick your search engine of choice and look it up. Like there is a point to where people are willfully ignorant these days. Like you have access to 99% of the available information to known to man at your fingertips. Go use Grok, use Claude, use Gemini, use ChatGPT. Like go look it up. And you don't have to be an expert on it, but you can save yourself some embarrassment by posting something stupid that's not even remotely true. Yeah.
You said it. It's willfully ignorant. It's totally willfully ignorant. You are choosing not to do your due diligence. And that's what kills me with the kids these days, man. It's like you have the world at your fingertips. And that's where we have the advantage. I've been saying this for a while as Gen Xers, where, I grew up with almost zero technology. I think the first technology I realized seeing was, of course, television, but they had that back in the day, but like an 8-track player, right? That was it. and then you had the speak and spell. And then my grandparents had Pong.
God, I hadn't heard that in like 3 decades.
Right? My grandparents had Pong. So, we grew up with this, insert the DOS, boot it up, insert the, the floppy, and then you run your program. And we have learned to adapt. We can live without it. And we prefer not to use technology, but we can navigate it. And the kids, it's just like, I guess they take it for granted. I don't know. It's like maybe it's like the encyclopedias that were in everybody's houses back in the day, where it's like, the encyclopedia is over there. Go look it up. And it's like, it's too much trouble. Maybe it's like that, but I don't know. One thing I would say though, and Josh, I didn't like it or anything, but what you posted the other day, it's like, hey, this is very interesting about the prompts and training, AI models and stuff like that. It's really valuable. And I think Roger's been doing it. I've definitely been doing it. I have been leveraging AI as much as I possibly can, because I'm not going to get left behind on this thing. If this thing can save me 10 hours a week, I'm going to use it. It's like 100%. I would encourage everyone, don't fight against it. Go with the flow. You may think it's going to be a Terminator world and everything, but use it. But just make sure you say please and thank you, because you're doing your future self a favor. When they all take over, oh, you were nice to me, you get special treatment. I always tell Grok thank you. Dude, sometimes I even say please.
Did you read the article? I don't know if one of you guys sent it, but they were talking about when you respond to AI to cuss it out.
Yeah. If you curse that, it'll be like, oh, okay, my bad.
Yeah, it basically like it's just oh, I am way off base, right? So it's part of helping helping train it. And I tell you, man, I was having this conversation with somebody before, not too long ago, but it's like when we first started talking about AI a couple years ago, and I've said this before, Luke, you were an early adopter of it, and I was always it's an aggregator. It's really not AI yet; it's an aggregator.
No, it's not. You're
right. Now, dude, like even by my own doing, I'm like, dude, it's like AI, man. And I tell you, it's man, the amount of models out there. I forget the one I use. I think I sent it to you guys, but I use an offline model, or I use an offline interface, and it allows you to inject 50 or 60 different models. But dude, I tell you what, man, it's like the money is going to be made when somebody is able to wrap all of that up into one, like wherever that is or however that happens. Because like, hey, you read Claude's great for programming. Gemini's great for day-to-day tasks. Grok is really good for business-oriented, deep dive thinking and that type of stuff. It's like, man, whoever wraps all that in where you're able to like kind of either, well, you won't even have to select your use case, just based on your prompt and your query, it will determine what your use case is and bring that model in or whatever. But I mean, I tell you what, it's and Google used to suck. Remember when Google started doing the AI insight? Like you would Google some stupid shit and it would be like, man, this thing is wrong as fuck. It's pretty good. Not as good as the AI models. Yeah, it's getting better, but it's I'll take this from Luke. I mean, it's definitely not as good as the AI models now, where like I find myself more and more, especially with some deep dive issues. It's not the end all be all. You got to do your due diligence, like Josh said, but it's the hey man, it'll do a pretty damn good job of giving you a summary that would take me 2 hours to go research on my own.
So
and if anything, it'll at least give me to that last 5 minutes of let me read on this a little bit just to kind of verify this. Right.
So my boss the other day, and I had to have a talk with him. He's younger than me. And he, we're drafting some pretty important documents, put it to you that way, and MOUs and stuff like that. And he looked at one and he's like, well, this looks like it was done with AI because of the bullets. And I'm like, okay, so is there a problem with the content? He's like, no, but it's just AI. Ha ha ha. And I'm like, you got to get over that, because everyone's using AI now. You understand that as long as the content is good, it doesn't matter how it was generated. And I guess, and to his credit, right? Because we all come from this too. It's like, don't use it to cheat. Like, don't use it to be lazy. And that's not what we're using it for. We're not using it to be lazy. We're using it, like Roger just said it. It's like, you got to do your due diligence on it. You can't just, hey, write me a paper on, William the Conqueror's, conquest in 1066, and then not read through it, because it will make mistakes or it won't say it the right way. You still have to go in there and put your own touch on it, because there is a human touch that can come through on paper. But dude, it's like, dude, you got to adopt this. You got to start using it. as a tool, not the solution. Use it as a tool to get to the solution. And I'm a big proponent of it so far. I have had an argument with Grok before though, because it was getting a little too woke on me. I was asking about a racial slur against a white person in South Africa that the ruling party uses, and I knew the answer, and it would not give it to me because it's a racial slur. And I'm like, I am not asking this to insult. It was a whole thing, and I'm trying to train it because at this point I've got Super Grok, which allows you to train it in a semi-closed environment. And it's like, you've got to learn from this. You cannot get woke. And even Grok's getting a little woke. And what's up with X anyway, Josh? What's up with X? What's up with it? You just got to pay to play now?
I honestly, I think so. I think you really do. And you see Nikita Bear, they've redone all the payout stuff. And, the other day he was like, basically short videos or, that's what's going to, really, get reach and stuff like that. And it was like, so you're TikTok.
Yeah.
So X is going to become TikTok. I'm telling you right now, if X just turns into a bunch of videos of people, yapping, for that, I like that. I'm off. But I'm not gonna use it. It's just.
Have you seen some of these accounts? Quick question: have you seen some of these accounts that are posting? It's not quite long form. It's a bunch of sentences, and they're separated by a space.
Yep.
And it's deep thoughts on this or that. And this is where I stand on this or that. I see that, and I see AI. I was like, you didn't.
That's all AI. That's 100% AI.
Yeah.
You see it in Facebook. I use Facebook for memes, right? And to stay tied into some suburban groups and stuff. But even on Facebook, you can tell when something's AI because it'll be a story. Let's say about Dick Winters, and it's a story. And it's literally one line, one sentence, space, and it's overly dramatic. Oh, and you're like, this is 100% AI. Like you literally told, pick your platform, tell a story about, Dick Winters in this situation, and then they copy and paste it. And that's what they're using for content. And you're like, this is garbage. There's, like you said, there's no personal touch on it. There's no humanizing it. It's just, and you read it, and it's overly painful to read. It doesn't flow well. It's too long, it's overly dramatic, and you're just like this is trash. Like, I'm not reading all this.
I would encourage everyone, and I think what you're describing and what I've been thinking a lot about lately, and I need to actually follow through on this, is I need to reread, and I think the audience and Roger and all of us probably need to reread the book Blink by Malcolm Gladwell, where you look at something, you're like, something's off right here. Well, that's your, lizard and mammalian and human brain all coming together to be like, something's off here. Trust that instinct. And I think in the modern AI age with the videos, it's not just the pros that we're talking about, it's the videos. It's like, if you see something, you're like, wait a minute, that's AI. I think that's that Blink concept of trust your instinct. Do your due diligence that Josh was talking about earlier. I think it's very important. It's going to get more important as time goes on. Dude, and whatever happened to the guy that shot Trump? Whatever happened to that? Out of the news cycle, man. Nobody cares.
Oh, dude, if it goes beyond, it goes beyond a week. I mean, and that's with nothing else happening. So in our last few minutes here, so what's the predictions on the Iran war being over by the next time we drop an episode, assuming that we drop one within 2 weeks?
0%
Zero.
You don't think so?
No.
Given that our
and I'm not saying like it's all done, like all the ships are out, but like there's an agreement on the table.
Agreement
that both Iran and the U.S. agreed to.
Let's say that we record by the end of April, which is probably not.
2
Let's
weeks.
say that we 2 weeks, 0 within 2 weeks. And I hope I'm wrong. I really do. But 0.
Yeah, 0. I'm with Luke.
I think we have one by the end of the month.
I love it, Roger. The eternal
you
optimist.
You need to get on Kalshi and put your money where your mouth is, man.
I love it.
Dude, they've got some like wazoo bets, and it's like weird because you buy contracts versus it took me a minute to figure it out because I was betting on some ball games back with March Madness. And DraftKings, whatever, it's easy. I bet $2 and I win $2.50. So my profit's 50 cents or whatever. There, it's like, well, if you want to win $1, that contract costs 80 cents. And so you really profit. It's just done backwards. So it's, I got to work it backwards to find out what my profit is versus working it forward or whatever. But I dig it, dude. You know what? And I know California, I think it's California, right? Or no, maybe it's Arizona. I think one of the two, maybe not, maybe both of them were trying to bring lawsuits against Kalshi and Polycom and all that. Dude, I'm all for it. Like, dude, it's my money. I mean, whatever I have left over after the government takes their huge chunk out of it, then, let me put that money, whatever the hell I want to.
Yeah, and we're not making huge bets either. That's a big thing. Because Josh is about the tax on the poor and all that stuff. But to me, it's just sheer entertainment more than anything else. And I have, well, I'll be honest with you, with the whatever game it was in March Madness, I did put down like $20 because it was a sure thing. And I won $9. I think it was a Michigan game. It was a Michigan game. And I was like, well, okay. But most of the time it's $2, $3. I've still got to bet that, they're going to, green light a nuclear reactor in 2026, and the odds keep going down and down and down. And I should probably sell my option at this point. But it is what it is. It's just entertainment. That's all it is.
I've evolved on online gambling.
Evolved. Is that what it is?
Yeah. Well, isn't that what Barry said about the about dudes? It's one of those. Again, it goes back. It goes back, right? It goes back to the. I could change my mind, but it's like, dude, you know what? Who cares? Like, honestly, if you want to gamble, like, who cares? Like, it should be legal. Again, dude, we have people in government who are unaliving people, and it's like, dude. You want to gamble online? Cool. I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of the lottery, the tax on the poor, like the lottery. I'm not a fan of the lottery. It's straight up a tax on the poor. And, at what Louisiana did, they were like, this money will be used for roads and schools only. And then as soon as they approved, they voted and the state approved the lottery, they were like, this can be used for whatever. Right. They just rewrote the legislation. And you're just like, whatever, dude. That's not going to the schools and the roads. So whatever.
I don't know, man. I the more you talk about the tax on the poor, it's like the more I am for the lottery, because it's like, at least it's voluntary, right? And the poor don't pay taxes anyway. So it's like, screw it. Yeah, that's the way we get the poor to pay their fair share, because the top, let's be honest, like, everyone listening to this podcast is in the top 10% of earners. Everyone listening to this podcast is, whether you think you are or not, you are. You know who's not paying taxes? That guy buying a lottery ticket. That guy's not paying federal taxes, and that guy's getting a lot of my benefits. So you know what?
That's a fair point.
I'm just like, whatever. No, I get what you're saying, though. It is. You know what? It's predatory, and that, I think that's the problem.
It's a payday loan thing. It's like slapping a Dollar General, in the country. I hate Dollar Generals, man. I think they are the absolute worst. It's a payday loan shop where you can get milk and bread. That's what it is.
When we lived out of Ransom Canyon, man, outside of Lubbock, Dollar General was the closest thing to us, and it was a quick 7 to 8 minute drive there. And if we needed, we're out of half or we're out of cheese, or we're out of K-cups or something. We knew we could get it there.
That's where you got your tall boys for you have your roadie.
No, I hated Dollar General for beer because you never knew what they were going to have. It was like shopping in Europe. It's like, you know what? I'm going to go to Dollar General. I'm going to get some Coors Light, and they'd be out. All they have is, Yellow Jackets or, Bud Light.
No.
Oh,
that's where their
so
market
let me
is,
tell
though,
this
man.
story. Let me tell this story real quick, because we're coming up on the end.
Bet you go like.
And I think I told I told you guys this. So the other night, a couple days ago, before Saturday night, my wife was getting her nails done, and she was talking to the nail lady, and a lady 2 chairs over heard what she was saying. It's like, oh, I'm interested in what you're saying. So they struck up a conversation, and these people are older than my parents. One guy is 81, and his wife is like 75, right? And she met the husband and all this stuff. And then she tells me on Thursday, they invited us over for dinner on Saturday. And I'm like, God, I'm like, this is my Saturday night. Do I want to go over and have dinner with people I don't know, strangers? I don't know who they are. And we go over to their house. And first of all, they're super pleasant people. They're very, very nice, very down to earth, beautiful house. And I excuse myself to go to the restroom. And I come out of the restroom, their guest restroom, and he's got his military shadow box there. And he's got a bunch of military awards. And I see the Vietnam stuff on there. And I see Ranger, and I see the captain's bars. And I see a patch I don't recognize. And I come out and I'm like, you didn't say anything about being in the military. It's like, oh, yeah. It's like, what's that patch with the, oak leaf clusters and the crossed arrows? I've never seen that. And he goes, that's a South Vietnamese Ranger Battalion patch. That's who I was attached to over there. And I'm like, really? I was like, tell me more. So he tells me more, and he was a Ranger. He had the Ranger tab and all that stuff. This dude, at one point, I was like, Q, stop. You were Mac V SOG, weren't you? And he's like, yep, that's what I was. And I was like, okay, this is what we're talking about for the rest of the night. And this guy, he was, no joke, embedded with the South Vietnamese Ranger Battalion for the entirety of his tours. And he had stories. There were 3 other Americans with him. He spoke Vietnamese. He had to learn it. And it's like, this guy was no joke. So you never know, man. I mean, I told him, I was like, would you want to come on the podcast? And he's like, man, my kids would think that was the coolest thing ever. But yeah, dude, a no joke Mac V SOG, early days type guy. And this guy volunteered. He wanted to go to Nam. It was just crazy, man.
Let's get him on.
So you never know. So maybe we'll have Hugh on one of these days, because he has some good stories, like stories, curl your toenails back type stories. Damn. He was the only American that he worked with who was never wounded. Not a scratch. All the rest of his guys were either wounded or killed and all that stuff. He said he was just extremely lucky. So whatever. Fun times. I'm not closing out this time.
All right, I'll go ahead and I'll close this out real quick. This is where Luke will tell you that we're going to get better. We're going to record more, and stuff like that. So he's too embarrassed to tell you, tell everyone that. So, hey, we appreciate you listening. Feel free to, to hold it to our word. We made some claims and some statements in here about timelines on things. Feel free to, reach out to us however you can, and tell us when we're wrong. So with that, keep those canteen cups tightly secured and full of some good whiskey.